Welcome to the 2022 primary election candidate videos, made possible by a partnership between Collin County Votes, which is an initiative of the Collin County Business Alliance and the Allen, Frisco, McKinney, and Plano Chambers of Commerce. I'm Leanne Libby, General Manager at Community Impact Newspaper in Plano, and I'm excited to introduce our viewers to Dennis London, running for House District 33. Welcome, Mr. London.
Hi, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, we're going to jump right in with our questions. So the first one is, tell us in your own words, what is the role of a state legislator?
Well, so in my own words, the role of a state legislator is someone who's actually supposed to be a representative of the people. So you can take their concerns, you can find out what's going on within the legislative priorities. That usually comes, or not usually, but that comes up from the precincts to the county to the state, and then that gets handed back down to the legislator, and that person is supposed to go and represent the will of the people and be that centralized voice. We have a lot of people, and I guess you probably don't want to hear about their trust and to go down there and do what they think and going through on the will of the people. So that is why I believe that we're doing what we're doing, and the legislators are extremely important, and that they have to be a representative of the people of their district.
Thank you. So if elected, please share with us what would your top 2 to 3 legislative priorities be?
So my top 2 or 3.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but that last question completely was cut out because of the connection. We didn't get any of your answer.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to keep rolling, but yeah, it was just like one of those freeze over and over while you were talking.
Yeah, let's try to take that from the top again, but if we keep having connections issues, we might have to do this again on a wired connection on a computer. But let's give it one more try.
We probably could have done this when I was up there.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That would have been an option, yeah. Ben, do you want me to start with the intro or just start with the first question?
Let's go ahead and start with the intro.
Okay. Tell me when you're starting and I'll go.
You're good to start.
Okay. Welcome to the 2022 primary election candidate videos, made possible by a partnership between Collin County Votes, which is an initiative of the Collin County Business Alliance and the Allen, Frisco, McKinney, and Plano Chambers of Commerce. I'm Leanne Libby, General Manager at Community Impact Newspaper in Plano, and I'm excited to introduce our viewers to Dennis London, running for House District 33. Welcome, Mr. London.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Well, we're going to jump right in with some questions for you. So the first one is, tell us in your own words, what is the role of a state legislator?
The state legislator is someone that is actually going to take the priorities, take the roles, take the understanding of what it is that the people are asking them to do, and to go down and actually legislate for that. I mean, the actual title is state representative. So to be a representative, you need to represent the people, not like what we've seen and experienced in some others. And it's part of the reason I'm running here is we have someone who wants to be a trustee for the people instead of a legislator. And so you need to go down there. You have to work with actually different areas of commerce, different areas of education, different areas that impact all of our lives. And whether it's making laws, adjusting laws, or creating new forms of, I don't want to say regulations. I'm not really a big regulation guy, but there are industries and aspects that need to have that from time to time. So that is what I believe is the role of a legislator.
Great. Well, so share with us, if elected, what would your top 2 to 3 legislative priorities be?
So my top 2 to 3, I'll just give you the top 2, which everyone is pretty much in agreeing. At least when I talk to them out when I'm knocking doors. You've got border security and property taxes. Those are the 2 primary ones that everybody wants to talk about, wants to have addressed, and wants a legislator to actually advocate for elimination of property tax and then securing our border. Now, as far as my priorities versus the people's priorities, and I mentioned this morning during the interview, it's not necessarily what I want to do and what I want to have accomplished. It's the will of the people. It's what the voters actually vote on. Here we've got initiatives coming up, and those legislative priorities are going to be handed to the legislators. And as a legislature, we should be actually focusing on accomplishing the mission of what it is that you, the voters, are asking us to do. Not necessarily what we want to do, but what you, the voters, because we are that representative.
Thank you. So Collin County is one of the fastest growing in the country. What are your thoughts on the growth to date, and what would your priorities be going forward?
Well, that's really interesting. If we take a look over the last 20 years, I think Collin County had about 225,000 people in Collin County, or at least that was Plano, sorry. And, each of the different cities within there, it's growing simply because of not just businesses that are fleeing the states for which they're in, but people are coming here for, less taxes, less regulations. They're able to actually run their organizations. How would I legislate towards the growth of that? First thing we have to do is make sure that the growth isn't something which is forced. And when I say that, you have businesses that are just being brought here because money's being thrown at them, and they're, oh yeah, well, we should go to Texas. I don't think that's necessarily the way we should grow a community, a business environment, an entrepreneurial environment. What we should be doing is letting the market fare as they would. So the organizations that want to come here, organizations that want to move here for the right reasons, not just because they're being incentivized. I'd rather see our small businesses receive these incentives instead of these large box stores that are coming in. But I think we need to really embrace the small business, the entrepreneurs, those that want to start and do their own things. I mentioned it before, patents. And when I say before, there was an interview, a forum this morning, and that's where we were talking. So I have to make sure to clear that up so people don't understand. But we need to make sure that we have that capability, and we have patents that come out of those small businesses, about 60% versus large organizations. And it would just make sense for us to actually give people the ability to thrive and to give them an environment where those small businesses and those entrepreneurial minds can actually thrive and grow and be the better part of our local communities instead of trying to do everybody as a whole.
Yeah, well, so you sort of answered a little bit of the next question, but I'll go ahead and read it to you if you want to expand on it anymore. But about speaking of the business community, what do you see as the top needs for the business community, and what would you do to help meet those needs to ensure continued economic growth?
Less regulations is one thing in particular. We're seeing a lot of regulations that are stifling the growth of small businesses. We're seeing regulations that are being imposed on small businesses that are there's nowhere near fair because they're mainly designed around large corporate environments. And being a small business owner myself and having worked in corporate America for over 30 years, the thing that I see and the challenges really that organizations face are more towards, how do we keep up with what large company X is doing? The small businesses, they just can't do that. And so we need to loosen and maybe even just eliminate some of the unnecessary regulations and things that are literally crippling a lot of our small business communities. And as a legislator, what would I do? I imagine I would have to talk to the small businesses. I have to find out what specifically is impacting them in a either positive way, and let's keep that going, or a negative way. And can we remove that? Can we reduce that? Can we just lift that burden off their shoulders so their businesses can thrive?
Great. Well, so shifting gears to transportation, what would you see as the biggest transportation issue facing Collin County, and how would you address it?
As far as the biggest transportation issue, I don't know specifically because I don't live in Collin County. I live down in Rockwall. I've come up at Collin County a lot, but I see a lot of construction going on. And I know that there's a lot of development and a lot of buildings and things. And there's natural growth and then there's forced growth. And some of this would probably come down to, from an infrastructure perspective, we need to slow down, if not put a slight moratorium on a lot of the building that's going on, just so the infrastructure can catch up. If we can get the infrastructure caught up to where the building is, then at least we'll be able to move forward in a planned approach instead of, ready, shoot, aim. We need to actually take aim, before we start moving forward on those. I don't know with the transportation if it's a public transportation issue, if it's a private transportation issue, if we need to take a look at and possibly have a discussion about, continuing or extending maybe a DART program into there, or getting some more trains, more buses, or what have you. Is the community ready for it? Again, we'll have to talk to the community and find out, each of the individual cities and towns, is that something you want? Is that something you don't want? For a legislator to go in and just force the issue and push it down on people, that's dictatorship. That's not legislation.
Thank you. So speaking of kind of back to the business community again, a lot of the organizations in the business community and those that are representative of the business community have prioritized promoting equity and diversity through hiring practices, programs, and their community investments. So because Collin County is such a diverse area in every sense of the word, can you talk about what equity and diversity mean to you?
Well, it's an interesting question, because equity and diversity, when you start classifying it and breaking people down into classes, into divisions, and that's exactly what we're doing. You're creating divisions in our society. Let the business market do what the business market is going to do. If an employer wants to hire someone and they don't want to hire someone else, if they don't hire someone based on race, it's discrimination. If they do hire someone based on race, that's up to them. We shouldn't be putting any type of weird type of restrictions or regulations or anything outside of what's actually social acceptable. We have laws against racism already. So if someone is doing this based solely on race, or solely on ethnicity, or solely on whatever diversity is in there, we need to stop separating everyone into these classes and categories. I know we're in the middle of Black History Month, and God bless them, it's phenomenal. I think we all need to understand the Black history that has helped to establish and build and grow here in the United States as well as around the world. But if we had a White History Month, people would explode. So it's a very, very touchy subject, and I've been told to stay clear of this as far as an answer. But I think we need to address it, because we're seeing a lot of division. We're experiencing a lot of division. And is there racism? Sure. And it's ugly, and it has no place in our society. But I don't think that promoting it in our businesses through either hiring practices or what have you is actually going to make anything better. It's actually going to create more of a divide. And I've seen that in some of my competitors and some other businesses that I've been working with. I hire people based on their soul and merit. It's if can you do the job? Yes or no. And if you can, great, I bring you on board. If you can't, I'm sorry. I don't care what color their skin is. I don't care what religion they have. I don't care what that ethnicity. We try to hire everybody that's a U.S. citizen. That's one of our main criteria, because we can do e-verify and make sure that we have those people here. Is that always going to be the best fit? No. Do we have people that we've hired from out of country before? Yes, we've done that. Do we have them in our employ now? No, because they went and they found another job somewhere else. But I think it's up to us, business owners, and to anyone that's watching this, as a business owner, as an employer, and as an employee, don't base anything solely off of, ethnicity or diversity or what have you. We should stop with this whole division.
Thank you. So we have time for one more question, and it's a quick one. If you were talking to someone from outside of Collin County who is considering moving here or moving their business here, what would be your 30-second elevator pitch to them?
It's a growing, thriving community. If you're going to move here, you're going to be plugged in, and you're going to have so much access to many things outside of a big city. We're a growing city, and Collin County is one of those that you have pretty much anything you want. If you want to, eat from around the world, so to speak, you have the access to those types of restaurants and foods. If you want to meet people from all over the world, literally, Collin County is I believe it's one of the top 10 growing cities and counties. You have the ability to just make sure that you have areas inside of your community. You have areas that you can experience and lives that you can touch and live within. So yeah, please welcome. Come on in.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mr. London. I want to thank you for joining us today and allowing voters the opportunity to hear directly from you on these important issues.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.